This my sound?
Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I'm here with Tyler Jones and Glenn Willis on a Tuesday night after the Hawks lost to the Philadelphia 76ers in the preseason. And I have the question that the world is waiting for an answer on. Tyler, how do you feel about Veet being left out of the rotation last night?
Um, I mean, I don't. I mean, it's just one preseason game, so can't take too much from it. But I've kind of been. We've been. I feel like I've been saying since the summer that somebody was going to get left out of the rotation just based on the numbers. So it looks like it might be Veet to start the season, but I mean, I don't know. He might force his way. I think he's just going to force his way onto the floor regardless. So it's not really too much of a concern. But it is something to monitor for the rest of the preseason, at least, is to look at if he's going to play rotation minutes if everybody's healthy.
What do you think, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, when you watch him play, and then you consider what Quinn is trying to do on both ends of the floor, he just fits. And so for me, I just don't know how there's any outcome where he's not playing regularly. You know, I don't know where the minutes come from specifically. That's for Quinn to figure out. You know, does DeAndre get squeezed? More than he has in the past? Does Kobe have a shorter stint? Is he playing more like 5 minutes a half instead of seven? Or I don't know where those minutes come from. But Vita does the stuff that Quinn is looking for his wings to do, and to me, when you're rolling through, obviously Bogey has his role, right? But when you're rolling through Veet and Ricochet and Dyson, you're talking about three wings on both ends of the court that to different levels depending on what area of the game we're talking about, but generally are bring the length and the ball movement and the ball handling and the cutting and the ability to contain the ball on that's what you want. So I just I have a hard time seeing how he doesn't play as a regular part of the rotation this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, for the Hawks, they've got their five starters: Trey, Dyson, DeAndre, Jalen, and Clint. And then the four subs that were in the main rotation last night: uh, Bogey, Kobe, Nance. Who am I forgetting here?
Ricochet.
Ricochet, of course. Whew. Wow. Okay. So that was their nine-man rotation. And to me, it's like they've got 11 players because they've also got Veet and they've got Onyeka.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this math problem and I'm like, okay, well, Onyeka comes back. Like, to me, and I think it's going to look a lot different once Bogey's a little more in the rhythm and stuff. But like, to me, trying to work Onyeka and Nance together feels like not something that I want to try to shoehorn in the minutes when Kobe's running the point. Like, that's just going to make the problems that he's facing worse as he tries to get adjusted. Am I crazy in thinking like you got two, essentially almost two centers, and that to me, I know that they're, they both bring a lot of offensive skill, but that just doesn't seem like something that's going to help him, in the situation where like last night, where it's just like he's getting all the way to the rim and then, missing shots there. They're like contested shots at the rim. Like when he's out there doing that with two centers, that's going to be even more of a problem, not less to me.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I for me, I even today I spent a few minutes like, how do I actually think the center minutes are going to shake out? Uh, I did an hour with Brad on Jalen, and I said Jalen might lead the team in rebounding this year, depending upon how the center minutes get distributed. And so for me, I think you want maximum skill. I think you want 1 through 4 guys that can dribble, pass, cut, break the paint, and all that sort of stuff. And it's one of those things where I I'm trying to think of a matchup that might push you in that direction. I know some fans on Twitter have said Nance is a 4, and I disagree with that. I understand maybe one little lens where like the skill alignment is, he has, you know, but I mean, what the Hawks since Gallo's been gone, since Deadman, they've missed having some version of stretchiness in their center, and that's something that Nance brings. Nance can shoot above the break threes, right? Something that Congo hasn't shown yet. And so I mean, I tried to like think through like what do I expect the center to. And honestly, I have no idea. I have literally no idea like how that's going to go again. I think Nance is just too freaking good to not play, but it's hard to distribute 48 minutes to three guys, at the same time. So for me, I mean, I was just kind of looking back through the stats last night, and it was rough for Kobe. It was a rough one for Kobe. He settled in like the last maybe 4 minutes he was on the floor. He kind of settled in a little
When
bit.
Veet was around.
Yeah, exactly. But Trey had 9 turnovers.
Yeah.
Jalen had 4 turnovers. I mean, Kobe couldn't make a shot until like the last couple times. He had 5 assists and 2 turnovers. And so yeah, I mean, for me, I know Hawks fans. Some you're on Twitter, kind of looking at reaction. It's like Kobe can't play. Kobe can't be in the rotation. And I mean, after watching last night, I kind of understand some fans maybe having that view, like he's not ready to help them win games right now because it looked rough last night. But that's for Quinn and his staff to figure out is what's the priority to start winning as many games right out of the gate as we can, or to invest in Kobe's development, but that's something they have to figure out. And I'm a big Kobe fan, but I said the whole offseason, if they let him run full-time backup point guard, it's going to be bumpy for a while, and it is. And we saw example of that last night, I think.
Well, I think they can, like, if you want to run the issue that they're running into is if you want to run Kobe as the backup point guard, then you probably don't want to play him next to Dyson Daniels because their strengths and weaknesses line up way too much. We're talking about two guards who are questionable shooters at their stage of the career. And so you're doubling up on your issues. Combined with if you play them, Brad was talking about this last night. Like he played a lineup when Kobe first came in. It was Kobe, Dyson, and Capella all on the floor at the same time. And it's just like you're setting Kobe up to fail. And so I think if you want to develop Kobe Buffkin, then you need to put him in situations where he will succeed. And that's where I'm like, Veet's got to play, man. Like, because Veet helps everybody out, particularly somebody like Kobe. Similar to what we saw, like DeJounte Murray was so much better when Trey was out, when Trey got hurt, and Veet was playing alongside him. Because Veet made things easier for the lead ball handler. We've seen it time and time again. That's why I'm like, I think Veet should play. Um, and that's where it goes like, okay, if you want to get Kobe those development minutes, I think Veet has to be on the floor because I don't think Bogey offers that level of ball handling, passing in the way that, Bogey's more of a true scorer in this league. And like that, but then it goes like, well, wouldn't I just rather have Veet set Bogey up to score instead of setting Kobe up to do what he does? And that's where it goes like, okay, what are we prioritizing here? And so it'll be an interesting thing Quinn's going to have to navigate. That's why I've said on Twitter multiple times now. I know Quinn said pregame on Monday that they were probably going to rest some guys these next couple of games. So they didn't want to play 3 games of 4 nights. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, this rotation is not settled. Like Quinn's got to figure out who he's going to play, who he's not going to play. I mean, you're about to add Onyeka into this pool. I mean, we're talking about 11 guys, who need to see real minutes. I'm like, look, Quinn, you got to figure out like these these, rotations, these opportunities, use as much during these games that don't matter. Like these exhibition games don't matter. They don't affect the win-loss record of the season. Like if you project where the Hawks are going to be, every game is going to count. And so, like to me, I'm like, okay, how do you want to manage your rotation? Like, what combinations do you think you can go to? What combinations do you think you would not go to? I wouldn't just punt on one of these games when you have like legitimately 11 rotation players plus Garrison Matthews, who's his 12th man. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have depth, but at the same time, Quinn, this Hawks team, like this rotation is far from settled to me. Like, and I agree with you, Glenn. I don't see the Hawks going back to the two big lineups anymore. I think Quinn has done everything the Hawks have done in the offseason these last couple years is to get away from two big lineups defensively. They don't want to rely on that. They want to be a good perimeter defensive team that can also rebound the ball without having to put on the floor. And I think with players such as Shea and Jalen and Dyson, who have that size and athleticism, who can grab rebounds, contested rebounds, combined with doing all the other stuff they can do, they have, you know, they have lineup combinations they can go to now that they couldn't before. But that's why I'm like, okay, you got a bunch of new guys who haven't played together. They had 20 turnovers the last game, and a lot of them were like guys just not in the right spots. And so I think it's like I think it would be a mistake for Quinn to be like, okay, we're resting guys. Um, I mean, maybe you can rest Capella because Capella's role is pretty solid, but the rest of the team is like, we got to figure some stuff out.
I think that's coming, what you just said at the end. Like, I don't think we're going to get the answer to the big man question in the next couple of games. I feel like as
Nope.
soon as Onyeka plays, somebody else is going to draw. Like, they're just going to keep that under wraps until October 23 or whatever it is. And it's tricky with Bogey. Like, you were talking about the Kobe Bogey pairing. It's like, first of all, I don't think they see Bogey as a point guard. Like, you watch them drill and stuff, and he's just not with the point guards. Like, he's over with the wings. But second, like, I think part of it is they just need him to be one of the wings because as soon as he's not one of the wings, as soon as he's playing in a role where he's more of a primary ball handler, then the spacing gets worse because he's not there to be on the wing, and the other shooters
Yes.
aren't respected as much.
So I gotta speak for the listeners, Kevin. So you said Bogey's not with the point guards. Listeners are like, Kevin, who is with the point? What is the point guard group that you see working together? Who is V in that group?
Yeah, Veet's in that group. It's
Okay, who else?
Trey, Kobe, Veet. Uh, who am I missing? There's
Dyson
usually a
Daniels,
fourth
maybe
person there with him.
Keaton
I think
Wallace.
Dyson is there with them a lot of the time too. I think Dyson, yeah, Dyson's in that group too. That's who I was
Okay.
missing.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, it's funny because I wonder if what Quinn will do is to start the season is play 10 in the first half. And then depending upon how it goes with Kobe, I mean, I have no problem if things don't go well for Kobe in the first half, cut it to 9. Kobe doesn't play in the second half. It's a close game. I don't have any issue with that. And then I kind of like the idea of Kobe with Veet and Ricochet. But then you watched last night, and when Ricochet and Dyson were on the floor together, man, they were
Magic.
containing the ball. It's crazy, you
Magic.
know. And that goes to the big question everybody wants to know is like, is Hunter going to start, or is the rookie going to start, right? And because I mean, watching Dyson and Ricochet work, it's crazy. That was their second game together ever,
Yeah.
and the way that they were communicating and handing off ball handlers and with a certain screen, taking the right angle to, I mean, it was like uh, these are the Hawks, you know.
Glenn, I'm pretty sure there was a play where Ricochet stayed being the low man for somebody else. Like he was like, because like the natural switch was for Ricochet to go up on the wing while like the guard was stationed in the corner, and I think he just pointed at somebody that, hey, get that man up top at the top of the key. I'm gonna stay low
Yeah.
because the ball handler was trying to drive to the rim. He wanted to be the help defender, the help rebounder. I mean, it showed up in his rebounding. It's like he was. I, just an aside, and I've been tweeting about this a lot about Reese Shea. Is like it's very funny him showing all these different skills that he did not show in the in his pre-draft process, or sort of say like he did not show any of this rolling ability in France, except for maybe some
Yeah.
stuff out of timeouts. But like for the most part, it's you know, he's got that tool in his toolbox. And then I mean, this defense, like what he did last night was pretty impressive. He had a couple of possessions on Maxi that were like, whoa, what's you know, it goes to my point. Like I can't tell if it's Ricochet or Dyson at the moment because I mean defensively, certain plays they kind of look the same. So it's very. I mean it's genuinely exciting. And I'll just say this about the starting stuff. It's not going to matter if Quinn is committed to playing Trey next to Ricochet and Jalen. Like if he's going to bring Trey and Jalen off the floor first in the first, like if this is his set rotation, then Ricochet is just going to be starters. Like he's going to play a majority of his minutes alongside the starters. That is, if you want to be like the
Yeah,
dance,
because
that's what's more important.
Hunter goes to the bench to be ready to come back and play the floor when Jalen sits, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So it's one of those. So it's one of those like it's a two thing. It's that, and also just to be honest, if Ricochet is able to rebound at this level, you know, then DeAndre Hunter all of a sudden becomes viable at 4, where I think Kevin, you pointed out, like, he was doing a pretty good job of boxing out. I'm like, look, if you can get Hunter to just be the box out guy and have somebody else, like it's the Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter lineup, but instead of Sadiq Bey not being able to jump for the rebound, you get Ricochet jumping for the rebound as if he's Jalen Johnson. Then like it covers Hunter's weaknesses. Now you're able to play Hunter at the 4 more often. You get more spacing, you get more shooting in the lineups. All this tells you is that whether Ricochet is starting or not, he's going to play plenty of minutes. If this is kind of who he is, these first 2 preseason games, we'll see. We got 2 more preseason games. We'll see how much he plays in them. But like, it feels like his teammates trust him. Trey is constantly looking for him on offense. That is not something Trey Young does. And like, if he's just this good, whether he's starting or not, is not going to matter. He's going to play plenty. Is my larger point.
Yeah, I think Trey's on board. Like I think Trey is a believer. But the thing that I like about having the versatility with sort of first and foremost Dyson and Rizache, but also with Veet and Kobe is like when they're doing their stuff, it's a whole different world for Jalen because he gets to be a little bit more of a zone up kind of center fielder, that's his wheelhouse because, number one, he's athletic enough to get in the way of anybody. He can also just jump a passing lane. And he's also, he's an unbelievable defensive rebounder, but that gets even better because, he can come down, he's more of a help defender instead of a primary defender. So he's more in position to get those rebounds because he's going to
Yep.
be closer to the rim and things like that. So it's like it's a huge development if he gets to be more of a backline than a frontline defender.
Yeah, it's huge. He can lean into his natural abilities a lot more in that role. And I know people are trying to hear me say, but I don't want guys his size chasing over 80 screens a game. I don't want that for their soft tissue and their lower body. I don't want that. I mean, last year we saw him defend DeRozan like in the closing stretch, and take on an assignment like that. We've seen him in the past take on KD, in an assignment like that. And I understand him matching up against, I mean, KD played decent amount of center last year, you know, you know. So that's all good. I really, I mean, I know he was on Maxi more like a decent amount last in that game. I prefer not to see too much of that just because of injury prevention.
Mhm.
And to me, that's the whole point of having Ricochet and Veet and Dyson, etc. on your roster. It's because you don't have to put Jalen through that defensive workload. You can let him roam. You can let him help at the rim, have weak side help at the rim. You can make him low man as much as you want. And I think that's big. And it was interesting too. Trey's last stretch on the floor they were not letting the Sixers make him low man. Like they would put him up on the wing every single time, and then the Philly would try to draw him into the screen, and Trey was looking for a pre-switch even there. So they were. I mean, I don't know if fans recognize, but they were doing a lot more nuanced stuff to keep Trey out of certain spots, and because they have the personnel to do that now this year. Last year it was like instead of Trey, it's Sadiq. Yay. Instead of Trey, it's DeJounte. Is that better? Now you've got Dyson, and you got these like long wings that can switch onto the ball. They can come up and help. They can be help at the nail. All that sort of stuff. So they were doing a lot more nuanced stuff. I know Trey had a rough game offensively, but the stuff that they were doing defensively to keep him clean and safe was way more nuanced than anything they were going to do last year.
I wouldn't be worried too much about the offense. Uh, it was one preseason game, and the Sixers and that grifter Kyle Lowry, there's just different rules.
That's my shtick, Tyler.
There's just different rules applied to the Sixers sometimes when the level of physicality they're able to get away with.
They went from the Pacers who don't play professional defense.
Yeah, to a real
Sixers
team.
really play professional. So I mean, it was like
a big jump. Yeah.
I mean, he's smart about how he does it. Like there was one time I think he had Riza Shea, and like it was an inbounds play, so they never call it. He pretty much just hugged Riza Shea like it was his best friend, and he was just never gonna let go. Like I love you. Here's a hug. Don't go anywhere. And kid's 19. He can't get out of that. It's like a Cobra Vice grip. So I mean, he's strategic in how he does. As much as I hate it, I respect that he's smart enough to know when it's going to work and what he can get away with.
It's one of the things. He's had a phenomenal career. He really has. And he drives me crazy too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a borderline Hall of Famer for a guy who refuses to play basketball like 75% of the time. But like back to the Hawks. So I guess if if they're having Dyson with the guards, I think that's actually interesting. Because I do think that opens up the possibility, because the lineups that I saw against the Pacers, like it was some Dyson V, 2-man gaming as well. And like there I am, if you're a Kobe fan, and I believe in Kobe, I just think he's just going to have to get more efficient as a basketball player. He's got to find a way to finish at the rim more consistently. But I do think the Hawks have outs. Granted, they don't have a traditional point guard, but I do think they have enough options with Dyson, Feet, Bogey, and Kobe, along with Keaton Ross. Like they have enough options to figure out, do we have this when Trey's off the floor? Can we find a combination of players that will make the offense flow? Because the good thing about Trey, you really only need it for 15 minutes of the game. Now that's a lot, that can decide the game of basketball. But like you can, I feel like with the options they do have at the guard position, they should be able to cobble together something, and it could include Kobe. But I just to get back to the point, Quinn's going to have to be smart. Like Quinn's just going to have to be smarter on how he deploys Kobe to put him in the best position to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I think, part of that is like he's just got to figure out like the sub pairings. Like if he absolutely has to, he needs to stack everything so that he can really make sure that he's got Kobe's best lineup around him. And if that means pulling somebody earlier in the first quarter, then he has to do that. And like, he's got to figure out what combinations work best with Trey and Okongwu, and what he needs to have if he's going to have Hunter and Capella on at the same time, which poses some other problems. But he's got to figure out all the little subsets and combinations so that he's not just taking the leftovers and putting those out there with Kobe, whether they fit or not.
I mean, I think we know Quinn's invested in Kobe, right? I mean, he seems like he's going to be naturally motivated to set Kobe up for success. Quinn seems to really believe in him. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And to me, Veet is a huge part of that. I mean, and that's, I mean, we talked about it. We've already circled back on that 3 or 4 times, tonight in this podcast. But um, the the players are there that Quinn can put around Kobe to help set him up for success. Um, you know, Quinn's just got to be apolitical about it, and
Quinn
do it.
cannot worry. Quinn cannot worry that, hey, DeAndre's only playing 20 minutes tonight. Not to say he. This isn't about DeAndre Hunter, even the basketball player. Like taking my things aside of this, the more we talk about this team, the more I'm like, Reese Shea checks so many boxes. I don't know how Quinn's going to justify not playing him a lot of minutes. In turn, somebody has to play less. But also, if who's that somebody going to play less? Are you going to take Bogey's minutes or are you going to take from Hunter? And like to me, I'm like, it's got to because I think Reece Shea is taking over the Sadiq Bey role on the team. But even then, there's still minutes to be divvied up. To get Veet on the floor to potentially get Veet and Kobe on the floor. I'm like, you can't be afraid for Hunter to play maybe less than 20 minutes some nights, just based on the matchup or just based on the flow of the game. And also, there got to be some nights where, I mean, maybe Capella doesn't play that much. Maybe Okongwu doesn't play that much just because you need Larry Nance on the floor. Like, these are things that Quinn's going to have to is going to have to navigate through this 82 game season, how to get these guys who he believes in the minutes that they need to be satisfied as a team so that they can all be together. And the important thing is like, in order for this sacrifice to occur for a lot of these guys, this team has to win games. And so that's where I go back to my point of, okay, can you afford to give Kobe these 12 to 14 minutes a night if they're unsuccessful and now the team is not winning games they should win because Kobe's playing these minutes? Okay, you're gonna get, you're gonna have. There's a lot of proud veterans in the locker room who are losing minutes because we're sacrificing for the betterment of the team, and yet this sacrifice includes playing somebody who's not as good as other options that we have on the table. So like that's where Quinn has to be careful. Like one, Kobe just needs to play better, but also Quinn has to be careful that he doesn't overextend on that sacrifice credit card that he's going to have to use because he's going to have to convince somebody to play less than they should based on their talent level, unless a trade happens during the season. But I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing or hearing any trade avenues available right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting though. It is going to be. I think Hunter's minutes are going to go up and down by game. Yeah, I think that's real. I think it's a great call out, Tyler. The other thing is, I don't know if people notice, but there are teams that play three centers. Like Dallas played three centers in a lot of games last year, right? And so, depending upon matchup, lineup configuration, et cetera, there might be games where it's 16, 16, whatever the breakdown might be, right around 16, 16, 12, whatever, it might be. And they wouldn't be the first team to do that, so I have no idea if they are going to do that. But last year, there were like 5 teams that often played 3 centers in a game. That happened.
I mean, the center position has changed so much. Like it is not. There are so many good centers in the league, and also like what's required from the center in today's game is just not the same as what it's used to. It's not an offensive first position. It's clearly a defensive first position, but it's also like on the offensive end, there's certain things that you're going to need from your center depending on the other team center. If you're going up a team like say the Rockets and Sengun, you're going to want to get centers who can get behind the defense. But if you're going up against a traditional rim protector like Rudy Gobert, you're gonna want somebody who can pull Gobert out of the paint.
Yeah.
So, and, those are the extreme examples, but like just in general, like a lot of teams break their have to like as a coach, you're going to have to be willing to break your rotations just based on your matchup, just because with how every center is just really good now who plays. Like if you're a center on a good team, you're probably good. Just because no, like they're very rare. I don't think of any NBA team that's projects to be good that isn't playing a at least a starter caliber center at the position. So you have to be willing to like with it being such a flat position now where there's not much outside of like the true elites like Jokic, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. There's really not that much difference between these guys. So you just have like Quinn's just got to be aware of what to do. Now I will say this: something that's complicating things right now is Capella's passing, which he flashed at the end of last season, and he's continued to show
A
it
great
again
pass
this.
last night. He had that
Yeah.
great pass where guy were all the way behind him in the corner.
I
Yep.
mean, that was that's the highlight pass, but
Yeah.
like there were multiple times he ran DHO with Trey Young in the corner that got Trey an open corner 3-pointer, or it got the defense scrambling once they realized that Trey was sprinting to the corner after he would pass it to Capella. Trey Young would sprint to the corner, and the big would be playing way off him. Be like, oh snap, I have to get up there because if I don't, Trey's going to get an open like corner 3-pointer. And so like and because Capella, like they're trusting Capella to run DHO actions from not just from the top, but from the side of the basketball court. Like that's not something the Hawks have done. So like it's going to be interesting to see like if Capella's passing, like DHO passing, continues to grow. Do you play like he might still be the best center on the team? Probably is. But like if he had as a DHO game, and if he also just like to me, my biggest issue with Capella is his unwillingness to just pass out of shots. You know, him throwing that pass to the corner is growth for him. Like usually he put the ball up, but like it's like, hey, I see that two guys are collapsing on me. I'm just gonna pass it. I know there's a guy in the corner. I'm just gonna fire a 360 no scope pass. I'm like, you know, that's growth from him. And so like if he's turning down shots, which and instead of shooting these offensive rebounds he's great for himself, he's passing it out or he's running deep like because he trusts himself more as a passer. We're talking about different basketball. So like that's something to monitor with the other guys. Like Conley's going to have to step his game up in order to overtake Capella's minutes because like and with the addition of Nance as well as a shooter, like it's going to be interesting how Okongwu fares. Like because Okongwu can't just he's got to be better in order to justify minutes. Just because while he's still good, he's in a minutes competition with these other two good players, and none of them are power forwards. Like none of them, I want to see any minutes at the power forward position. With the amount of wings that we've been talking about this entire podcast, we have to play. You know, you got to cut. Somebody's got to be cut on the minutes. So it's like power forward. Like Hunter might lose some minutes. Okongwu or Capella or Nance might lose some minutes, just depending on who they play.
Yeah, it's funny. To me, Okongwu's leap needs to be consistency.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing that has caused him to kind of be up and down before. His touch is ridiculous. His self creation is for a center is crazy, right? His ability to do that. Now he hasn't done it like a high volume, but when he does it, he's generally successful. But coaches, I think NBA coaches, when they're thinking about their center position, they want reliability. They want stability. They want stable, reliable baseline play in the 3 or 4 areas that really matter for your center. Nance gives you that, right? Capella gives you that. We know his finishing fell off last year, but Capella rebounds, he protects the rim, he organizes, he communicates, right? Okongwu, some of that stuff has still been up and down, right? And I love Okongwu's offensive potential. I love that stuff. For him to play more minutes than the other two guys, to me, it's about consistent and reliable defensive play. and that's where it's been up and down to this point in his career for me.
Yeah, I think I don't think he was as healthy as maybe we might have thought last year. I feel like that was
Yeah,
I feel like physically he was limited. It's not fair because he's just not that big. Like it takes more for him to do the center things than it
Yep.
does for people that are 6'10". He's just not. So he needs more vertical lift. He needs to be a half step ahead of people to make this work. And just with that nagging toe injury, I just don't think he was ever quite right last year. And you almost have to. I feel like last year just kind of wiped that. That doesn't really I don't think that was really who he is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it's, going back to what Tyler said, I sort of agree with that. I think Quinn has to game plan. And, if you're starting Capella and bringing a Kongwu off the bench and, Nance is your changeup, then you just look at the week ahead and, you plan for your Shenguns, you plan for your Goberts, and, you look at when there's going to be 3 games in 4 nights so that Capella can have a night off when he's 30 years old and Nance can have a night off when he's 31 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
You're playing Oklahoma City, 5 out, Boston,
yeah,
5 out.
exactly. Exactly. That's another one. So like, and these guys, like, you look at their career, like they don't play 80 games a year. Capella was extraordinarily healthy last year and he played like 72 games. But you look at their careers, a Kongwu, Nance, Capella, they're all right there in like the 60 game mark, on average over their careers. So like you don't necessarily hope for this to like sort itself out by them getting hurt. You can just be a little more proactive ahead of time and just make sure that their load on a week by week basis is just kind of manageable, I think.
Yep.
All right.
agreed.
Well, we have limited time left. Any parting thoughts before we head into Miami and OKC?
Another
Uh,
preseason games, but I'm looking forward to watching them. I love watching these new wings play. I love it.
yeah, Shea. I mean, I just want to get back to it. Like he might be the best roller on the team. I don't know. Like it's like I mean, he looks like a big out there when he's operating as the roll man. He slipping the screen like John Collins. It's very shocking for me considering how much I watched of him. You know, before he became an Atlanta Hawk, and now he's just flashing, all these different skills. Like it's
I think
incredible.
it's
And
just a
also,
different game. Like in Europe, they
it
can,
is, it
there's
is.
you've got a big just zoning up waiting there for it. And now
Yeah,
all of a sudden there's this space and you get to see a new skill that wasn't there.
yeah,
Yep.
and he's just smart.
Yeah, smart.
He's smart. All right, it'll be fun to watch these other 2 games.
All right, we'll do this again soon. Good night, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Good night, Bob.